What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of Inside the Ice. I'm Shane. Normally, I'm joined by my good friend Tim, but it's a little under the weather today, so you may notice we have a replacement for Tim today. We have Mr. Martin Lee. He is another member of Game Changer Sports Network. He'll be filling in for Tim and talking hockey with me today. Hope you guys had a great week. Lots went on in the NHL, Martin. What do you think of what's going on in the Stanley Cup final right now?
Yeah, I think it's been a pretty good final. At first, I love that Dallas is in it because we get a team that's not recognized by the media, and they're a pretty good team. But Tampa has been insane over the past few games.
Tampa's looking good.
It's just unstoppable to stop them, especially after last night.
Yeah, Tampa's looking really, really good. Hey, Heather, thanks for tuning in. Nice to see you. Yeah, Tampa's looking unreal, man. And I mean, now one thing that does come up here that I think we do have to address is Steven Stamkos. Stamkos had his first game back yesterday. His long-awaited return. He was out since February 25th. Came back, scored the first goal of the game about 3 minutes into the game. Didn't play another shift after that. Do you think this was more of a precautionary thing? Do you think Stamkos came back a little too early? Do you think his injury got re-aggravated? What do you think is going on with Stamkos?
It's two things. One, I can see it being a precautionary, and I can see it being him being injured again. And it's weird because I thought Stamkos looked good, but then we get him 5 minutes, only 5 minutes of ice time. So I'd be a little worried if I was a Lakers fan, but if I'm worried about him, but Tampa can actually play without him because they made it all this way without him. So they could kind of sit Stamkos for they don't really need him right now. So, but now they got a back-to-back. So it might be smart to sit Stamkos in one of those back-to-backs.
I mean, you look at it this way, like you said, Tampa did make it all this way without him. If you're Steven Stamkos, though, you're the captain of the team. Your team's in the Stanley Cup Finals. Your chance to win your first Stanley Cup Final as the captain. I mean, I understand Stamkos is just he wants to get into the game. He wants to play with his team. He wants to actually play a role in the Stanley Cup Final. So I do understand Stamkos coming back, but at the same time, he's at that point in his career where one bad injury can end his career. So at the same time, stay out. If I'm Stamkos, I'm going to stay out for the remainder of the season. If your team wins the Stanley Cup Finals, I mean, it's great because you get a ring. But at the same time, I understand Stamkos not, he obviously played a huge part in Tampa's success in the season. And if I'm Stamkos, sit out the rest of the playoffs and gear up, get better, and be ready for the start of next season for sure. You don't want to re-aggravate that. Or what's up? I make no noise, no sense. Sorry.
Yeah, if I was Stamkos, I might want to sit him for the rest of the series. But if he does play, put him on the fourth or third line because he does not deserve to be on that top six right now.
Or don't get him. Don't give him as much ice time. Give Stamkos maybe 9-10 minutes of ice time if he wants to try to play and make an impact. But I mean, Stamkos, like I said, did score on his very first shift last night. Very first shot looked really good. And whether it's just a precautionary thing or what the deal is there, we're not entirely sure. But there hasn't been any really update on Stamkos. Now, Lightning played last night against Dallas. They won 5-2. They looked very, very good in that game. They lead the series 2-1. What does Dallas need to do to get back into this series? Because we all know Tampa comes out, they win Game 4, they're up 3-1. This Tampa team, I don't think they're going to blow a 3-1 series lead. So next game's like a must-win for Dallas. What does Dallas need to do to win this and get back?
Yeah, I think what Dallas needs to do is the same thing they did in Game 1. Control Tampa's offense. Because if that Lightning offense gets going, you have no chance of winning. Look what happened in Game 1. They stopped them, and they allowed no chance of Tampa outside that third period, and they won. Didn't happen in Game 2. So in Game 3, I just stop, defend well, get don't let Tampa's offense get going and get some pucks in the net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stick to the game plan. Play simple hockey. You got to do that dump and chase style hockey and play tough. Angle Tampa and don't let them get any rebounds or any great scoring chances like that. Make Tampa work for it, basically, if you're Dallas. Now, Kudobin, Heather says, I think Boston would like to see Dobby and Dallas win. I agree. I would love to see Dallas win just because, they have Sagan, they have Ben, they have a bunch of Canadian boys on that team. Speaking of Kudobin here, we're going to get into that. Kudobin allowed, this is an interesting stat. Now, with how well Anton Kudobin has played in this playoffs, last night was the very first time all playoffs where Kudobin allowed 5 or more goals. All playoffs. Is Kudobin getting worn out? Do you think Dallas is playing him too much? Do you think Dallas has to go? Because Joel Odinger, he's a rookie goaltender. He came in relief of Kudobin, didn't allow any goals. Do you think do you think Kudobin had an off night? Do you think he's getting worn out? What do you think Dallas needs to do in net? Or do you go back to Ben Bishop?
Yeah, I think we just had off night for Kudobin. And if I was Dallas, I don't want to go back to Ben Bishop because with Bishop, you saw what happened. Then you put in Kudobin, and he has been on fire ever since he got in that. And he's been working so well over the past 2 or 3 series. And I think that it was just an off game for him. He'll bounce back.
Interesting decision for sure. Now, the Stars also, fun fact here, Stars only lost back-to-back games once, all playoffs, and that was game 5 and 6 versus Colorado. Other than that, they have not lost more than one game in a row. I think Dallas bounces back in game 4, and I think Dallas ties up this series. What are you predicting for game 4?
Yeah, game 4 is a must-win for Dallas, and I think you're right. I think they're gonna bounce back and win game 4. I'd say maybe 4-2, 3-2.
It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a grinder for sure. And you look at guys like Dallas. Tyler Seguin won a Stanley Cup with Boston back in 2011. But he's going to be hungry. This was back when Seguin was like in his very, very younger years. Didn't get a whole lot of ice time. Sagan's going to be hungry to lead Dallas to a Stanley Cup, being on the top line. But you have guys like Jamie Benn. Corey Perry has a cup. But you have guys like Jamie Benn, Miro Heiskanen, John Klingberg. They're all going to be hungry for their first cup. And you have 37-year-old Joe Pavelski, who is also looking for his first cup. Now, interestingly enough, Joe Pavelski, I read this on an article last week, I believe, but Joe Pavelski, when as a free agent with San Jose Sharks in this offseason, he decided to test free agency. He had his decision down to 2 teams, and those 2 teams were Dallas and Tampa Bay.
Oh, wow.
And he thought Dallas would give him the best chance at a Stanley Cup. Not a word of a lie. Those were his 2 teams. He chose Dallas over Tampa Bay. So for a fact that Joe Pavelski is not going to want to let that decision come back and bite him in the butt. Because Tampa Bay wins the Cup. How would you feel if you were Joe Pavelski knowing, you were this close to going to Tampa and you chose Dallas and you end up losing to the team that you had in your consideration there? And you're 37 years old, not getting any younger. Mind you, Joe Pavelski, despite his age, he can still put up big numbers. He's been a prime performer for Dallas in the playoffs, and he does not seem to be slowing down. He can still put up a lot of numbers. So Joe Pavelski is going to be hungry. Jamie Benn's going to be hungry. John Klingberg is going to be hungry. I think Dallas comes out and wins Game 4 for sure. I called it. I called it last week. I said Dallas is going to win the Stanley Cup. They're down 2-1. You have a coach in Rick Bowness who the team believes in. He came in an interim in January for Jim Montgomery, and I think this team bounces back for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bounce back game for Dallas because if they don't bounce back here, I think the series is over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Tampa wins Game 4. The series is over as well. Now, another interesting fact about the Stanley Cup Finals before we move on here. There is one player that is still playing in the Stanley Cup final who could win back-to-back Stanley Cups. He was a member of the St. Louis Blues last year when they won the Stanley Cup. Any idea who that player is, Martin?
Ryan Reeves?
Not Ryan Reeves. No, he's a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. I bet you Nick Eubanks knows. Patrick Maroon.
Oh, yeah, right.
Patrick Maroon is a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He played with St. Louis Blues last year, won a Stanley Cup with his hometown team in St. Louis. He's got a chance to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. And, man, as an Oilers fan, Patrick Maroon, he's a former Oiler. Love the guy. I would love nothing less to see him win back-to-back Stanley Cups for sure. He's a great guy. He's done a lot for the city of Edmonton when he played with the Oilers, and he's just a great dude. I'd love to see him win back-to-back. Moving on now, Martin, I don't know how much you followed the NHL awards, but we had a big week this week with the NHL awards. There were lots of awards given out towards like the end of the season, and a few that were a little surprising, some that were not surprising. Heather has a question here that we'll answer quick. Do you think had Colorado had not lost their top goalie in the playoffs, do you still see Dallas have made it this far? That's a great question, Martin. I'll let you take that one. If Philip Grubauer hadn't gone down, do you think Colorado would have beat Dallas?
Yeah, I think they would have because they had everything going for them. They were strong offensive team, strong defensive team. But that one thing that really hurt them was goalie. So yeah, I think if Grubauer was in there, we would see a Colorado and Tampa finals right now.
I agree 100% too. I don't know how Colorado would have fared against Vegas, but I do think that had Grubauer not gone down, because Grubauer, like it or not, he is a starting goalie in this league now. And you have a goalie like Philip Grubauer. He played all season. Colorado Avalanche rode him as a starting goaltender all season. They finished first in the West. They were unbelievable all season long, and the team in Colorado believes in him for sure. I think had Grubauer not gone down, absolutely Colorado would have beat Dallas for sure. Michael Hutchinson had a few great games. Heather also says, what was your thoughts on Florida Panthers trade from Pittsburgh? That was a big trade that happened today. I actually have that written down in the notes. We will get into that a little bit later, Heather, right after the NHL awards recap. So definitely stick around for our thoughts on that Pittsburgh and Florida trade that went down. So anyways, back to the NHL awards. We're going to start off with the GM of the year. This was decided, I believe it was last week. Lou Lamoriello of the New York Islanders wins General Manager of the Year. What are your thoughts on that, Martin? Do you think Lou Lamoriello deserved it?
Yeah, I think he did, because look what he did to that New York Islanders team. He took them and built them to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And it is, I think it was his first year, was it?
Yeah, no, it was. He's been the general manager there for like 2 or 3 years, I think.
Yeah,
but you look at the first year they went. I think they lost out in the first round or something. But then last year they swept Pittsburgh, and they made it all the way to the second round. So they're gradually getting better. Lose out first round, lose out second round, lose out third round. They gradually get better under Lou Lamoriello. So I think he deserves it for sure.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it because he turned that team around. Ever since he got there, he built it in his own way, and it really shows that they're a bright young team that can make some real damage in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And I mean, you got to count it to Barry Trotz too. I don't think the Jack Adams Award was announced yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, but
let me check that.
Was it Jack Adams? No, it was Bruce Cassidy. Bruce Cassidy, the Boston Bruins won it. Bruce Cassidy won it. That was a while ago. I think Bruce Cassidy, well deserved, but I think Barry Trotz got snubbed on that one because Barry Trotz, he led the Washington Capitals to a Stanley Cup 2 years back. He's his second year in New York now. And, I think he did get snubbed of the Coach of the Year because Barry Trotz, in my opinion, is the best coach in the NHL right now.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you because there's not really a better coach right now than Barry Trotz. I mean, he done so much for the Islanders ever since he came in. His game plan has been great, and he really helped that team to where it is today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. If the Islanders have another year like they did this year, and Barry Trotz does not win Coach of the Year, there is something wrong with the NHL, in my opinion. But we're going to get back into Players Awards now. You heard from the Coach of the Year, Bruce Cassidy, and the General Manager of the Year, Lou Lamoriello of the New York Islanders. Into the Player Awards now. Now, the Rocket Richard Trophy was not given out because it was split between 3 players. Those 3 players that were tied with 48 goals each this year were David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins, Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Alexander Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals. So the Rocket Richard Trophy was split between those 3. It wasn't officially given out because they kind of split it. But had this season played the full 82 games, Martin, out of Matthews, Ovechkin, and Pastrnak, because it was a hardcore race in goals for those 3 players all season long. Which one of those 3 players do you think would have won the Rocket Richard Trophy for most goals? Or do you think 4th place Leon Draisaitl with 43 goals would have sprung and took the Rocket Richard there? Who do you think would have won it had
before COVID, David Pastrnak had been on fire before COVID, and I think if the season went through the whole 82 game season, the entire thing, I think Pastrnak should have won it.
Is that coming from a biased Bruins fan?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I have to agree with you there. Pastrnak had an unreal year this year. He is undoubtedly Boston's best player. And he worked so well with Bergeron and Marchand on that Boston top line, arguably one of the best top lines in the league. I do agree with you there. I think David Pastrnak would have had a chance. Austin Matthews, hate the guy because he plays for Toronto. But I mean, the thought of any Leafs player winning a trophy or an award of any kind of makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest. But I have to agree with you on David Pastrnak on that one. I think David Pastrnak made a great case for himself there. Heather agrees, Pastrnak or Matthews. Ovechkin maybe too. Ovechkin, he still got that scoring touch. All 3 of those players definitely would have hit over 50 goals for sure. We're going to move on to the Norris Trophy. Norris Trophy goes to the NHL's top defenseman. Now, Martin, are you aware of who won the Norris Trophy this year?
Who won it?
The nominees were Victor Hedman of the Tampa Bay Lightning, John Carlson of the Washington Capitals, and Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators.
All right. Has it been awarded yet?
Yeah, it has been awarded yet. One of those 3 players won it.
Was it Victor Hedman?
It was not. It was actually Roman Josi.
Really?
Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators won the Norris Trophy as the NHL's best defenseman. We got to talk about this, though. Roman Josi is the first Switzerland-born player to win any NHL award. So a huge night for Roman Josi. He put Switzerland on the map there for ice hockey. Roman Josi's stats this year, he had 16 goals, 49 assists, and 65 points in 69 games. For a defenseman, a 30-year-old defenseman, averaging almost a point per game, I think Roman Josi did deserve this. Now, I also think, though, that John Carlson of the Washington Capitals got snubbed. Because after the season that John Carlson had, he came out, he was the leading scorer in the league for at least the first 2 months of the season. He came out of the gates on fire. He kind of slowed down the longer the season went, but John Carlson, and Victor Hedman for sure, he is, if Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup, Victor Hedman has my nominee for Conn Smythe because he has been unreal this playoffs. He is one of the best defensemen in the league because he is nominated for the Norris Trophy almost every year, it seems. But I mean, definitely 3 great nominees there for the Norris. Roman Josi wins it, but do you think Hedman or Carlson deserve the trophy as well? Or who would have had your vote for the Norris?
In the Norris, that's tough because Roman Josi had a pretty good season, but I think I would have given it to John Carlson because look what he did over the past year. He has been quite honestly one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and he has led the Washington Capitals. He has led that defense, and if it wasn't for him, I don't think they make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at a person like John Carlson. He is the quarterback of that Washington Capitals power play. He's out there every single power play. He scored how many goals from the blue line just from kicking a clapper on a power play? He's a great defenseman. Heather just had a comment pop up that said Victor Hedman. Honestly, if I had to pick between those three defensemen, Roman Yossi would not have been my decision. I probably would have picked John Carlson, but I was unaware of Roman Yossi's stats too. 65 points in 69 games is pretty damn impressive, and huge congratulations to Roman Yossi, first Switzerland-born player to win an NHL award. Huge milestone for him, and very well deserved for Roman Yossi. Moving on now to the Vezina Trophy for NHL's top goalie. Nominees were Connor Hellebuyck of the Winnipeg Jets, Tuukka Rask of the Boston Bruins, and Andrei Vasilevsky of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, Martin, do you know who won this trophy?
Was it Vasilevsky?
It was not Vasilevsky.
Oh, it was the Hellebuyck.
Hellebuyck. It was Connor Hellebuyck. Now, again, I would not have picked Connor Hellebuyck, but looking at his stats, how can you vote against him? Listen to this stat, these stats here, these season stats for Connor Hellebuyck. Goaltender of the Winnipeg Jets posted a record of 31 wins, 21 losses, and 5 extra time losses. He had a 2.57 goals against average, which definitely is not too shabby in the NHL, and a .922 save percentage. Now get this, Connor Hellebuyck, what stands out the most to me and what's the most impressive, he led the league in 4 categories, 4 goaltending categories. He led the league in games played, which is 58. Shots faced, he faced 1,796 shots all season. Saves, he had 1,656 saves. So you look at a guy like Connor Hellebuyck, he faced 1,796 shots, and he only let in 140.
Wow, that is impressive right there.
That is impressive. The way that if you look at it that way, that is very impressive. And he also had 7 shutouts.
Yeah, look at those stats. Look at those stats. I think he might deserve it, but I think my pick would have been Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky. Rask obviously finished third in voting. Vasilevsky finished second for Vezina. Vasilevsky, again, great goalie, elite goalie in the league. He definitely made himself a case there. But looking at Heather would have picked Vasilevsky. Looking at the stats though of Connor Hellebuyck, again, I was unaware of his stats, but looking at those stats, you can't really vote against something like that for sure. When you face almost 1,800 shots and only let in 140, that's definitely something to make a name for yourself for sure. Now, speaking of Connor Hellebuyck and the Winnipeg Jets, we do have some breaking news from the Winnipeg Jets organization that we will get into later on, right after the NHL awards recap, when we talk about the Pittsburgh and Florida trade. We will also talk about what's going on in Winnipeg. Continuing on with NHL awards here, next on the list we have the Calder Trophy, which is awarded to the NHL's top rookie. The nominees were Dominic Kubalik of Chicago Blackhawks, Quinn Hughes of the Vancouver Canucks, and Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche. Do you know who won this one, Martin?
Was it Makar or Kubalik?
It was Makar. It was Cale Makar. It was Cale Makar. Now, Kubalik, had a great season for a rookie, but all season long, all I was seeing was Makar and Hughes going at it with each other for that Calder Trophy race. Hughes definitely made a name for himself. Hughes would have actually had my vote. But Makar's stats, he had 12 goals, 38 assists for 50 points in 57 games, and led all rookies with 0.88 points per game. So he had almost a point per game as a rookie defenseman in the NHL, which is crazy to think about. Again, he beat out Hughes and Kubalik there. Hughes finished second, Kubalik finished third. Now, there's one rookie that stands out in Calder Trophy that did not even get nominated. That is Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars. I feel like Miro Heiskanen should have at least been in the top 3 there.
Yeah.
That's just me. I think he is a great young defenseman. He is definitely going to be, you look at guys like Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Miro Heiskanen, they're all rookie defensemen. They all had outstanding years. They're all going to be defensive studs. I think Heiskanen got snubbed.
Yeah, to me, I think McCann deserves this represent because look what he did in Colorado. He was a game changer on that defense. They need somebody that can be the face of the defense for years to come, and they got that in McCann. And to me, I think he's gonna end up being one of the best defensemen in the NHL for years to come.
And I agree with you 100% there. I mean, the way I look at it there, like you have a guy like Cale Makar who, like I said, is averaging almost a point per game in his first year. If he's doing that in his first year in the National Hockey League, what's he going to do in 4 or 5 years from now in his prime? You know what I mean? He's going to be a Norris Trophy winner in no time if he's putting up numbers like that. But definitely, I feel like Hughes definitely gave himself a shot too. Hughes and Makar went at it all season long. And I mean, Quinn Hughes did not win the Calder Trophy, but definitely will be a very elite defenseman. Both the Colorado Avalanche and Vancouver Canucks and Dallas Stars, for that matter, should be extremely happy with the young defenseman that they have on their team. We're going to move on to the best for last, saving the best for last. You know I'm an Oilers fan, Martin. Everyone that watches this show knows that I'm an Oilers fan because I talk about it almost every show. I'm a religious Oilers fan. My favorite award, and my guy, Leon Draisaitl, comes out with 3 awards this NHL offseason, all of them very, very well deserved. Leon Draisaitl walks out with the Ted Lindsay Award, the Art Ross Trophy, and the Hart Trophy. Now, if you're unfamiliar with hockey, the Ted Lindsay Award is the most outstanding player as voted by the National Hockey League Players Association.
So basically the MVP? So basically the MVP.
Well, MVP is the Hart Trophy. The Hart Trophy is voted by the general managers of the league. The Ted Lindsay Award is voted by the actual players in the league. But basically, it's most outstanding player. So Leon Draisaitl won most outstanding player as voted by his peers, most outstanding player as voted by the general managers, and hence the Hart Trophy, and the Art Ross Trophy as the league's top scorer. Now, the numbers that Leon Draisaitl put up this year, you could argue that he does have Connor McDavid playing with him, who are arguably one of the best players in the league. But Leon Draisaitl, the first German ever to win NHL MVP, or an NHL award for that matter. First German ever to win 3 NHL awards consecutively in the same year. And arguably one of the best German players ever to play in the NHL. He had this year 43 goals, 67 assists for 110 points. He finished first in the league scoring, and he beat out Nathan MacKinnon and Artemi Panarin for both of the Ted Lindsay Award and the Hart Trophy. Now, if you look at MacKinnon and Panarin up against Draisaitl, do you think Draisaitl had this in the bag the entire time, or do you think there was some consideration between MacKinnon and Panarin for these awards?
Yeah, as much as I like MacKinnon and Panarin, I think as the year that Draisaitl had, he had it in the bag all season because the stats he put up is unbelievable. And yes, he played with Connor McDavid, one of the best players in the world, but that is not say that Draisaitl is one of the best, because he is one of the best.
I would definitely I'm not just saying this because I'm a biased Oilers fan. Draisaitl, in my mind, whether you're an Oilers fan or not, is a top 3 player in the NHL. And after the year that he had this year, it's so hard to argue against.
I would put him that he is one of the best.
Exactly. I would put him top 3, maybe top 5, absolutely no less than top 5. Like I said, you do have Connor McDavid, who obviously Leon Draisaitl finished first in the NHL scoring. Connor McDavid was right behind him in second. The 2 of the best players in the world playing on the same team. As an Oilers fan, I absolutely love it. But to put this into perspective, Leon Draisaitl scored 50 goals and 55 assists for 105 points in an entire 82-game season last year. This was a shortened NHL season this year because of COVID, and he put up 5 more points in 13 less games.
Wow,
which just shows how impressive that is, for sure.
Yeah, that is an impressive stat right there.
Exactly. And Leon Draisaitl is the second Oiler in 3 years to win the Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy at the same time in the same year. Obviously, Connor McDavid being the other one. Connor McDavid won all 3 awards in the same year in 2018. So that recaps the NHL awards. Again, just real quick to recap before we move on. Lou Lamoriello, GM of the Year. Bruce Cassidy, Coach of the Year. Roman Josi, Norris Trophy as the NHL's best defenseman. Connor Hellebuyck, Vezina Trophy as the league's top goaltender. We have Cale Makar as the most outstanding rookie. And then we have Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers taking home the Ted Lindsay Award, Art Ross Trophy, and Hart Trophy as the league's top scorer and league MVP. So that recaps a busy week of the NHL awards. We've got a little bit more to talk about here, and we are going to bring it right to the breaking news out of Winnipeg and the trade that happened earlier today between Florida and Pittsburgh. Now, we'll start with the trade from Florida and Pittsburgh here. So earlier today, it was announced that Florida and Pittsburgh made a trade. It was 2 men going to Pittsburgh in exchange for 1 to Florida. Going to Pittsburgh from Florida is defenseman Mike Matheson and forward Colton Sceviour. Florida will get forward Patrick Hornqvist in exchange. Now, how does this trade affect both teams, Martin?
Yeah, for Florida, they are getting a great guy for their top 6. Hornqvist is a guy that can drastically improve that Florida top 6 because because he is, I mean, he can score goals and he can do stuff. Yeah, so and I get why Florida did it because they wanted to improve that top 6. Now for Pittsburgh, I don't get what they're doing because Hornqvist was a great player at Pittsburgh, but they get him for a guy from Madison who isn't really that good. I mean, sure, he's a good top 6 defenseman, but he's not as good as a Hornqvist. And the prospects that they got, he's okay, but I don't get what Jim Rutherford and the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing. I think that trade's gonna come back and bite him.
I mean, that is definitely one way to look at it. I will give you my opinion on this. Quite honestly, Patrick Hornqvist is, I believe he's 36 or 37 years old. He's definitely an older player, but he still is a great player nonetheless. He's won, I believe, at least 2 Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh, maybe 3. But Florida gets a guy, and you have a guy like Joel Quenneville, who's the head coach. Florida gets a guy that is experienced. He has that veteran presence. He's been to the playoffs. He knows what it's about. He's won Stanley Cups. He can definitely play in that second or third line, possibly even first line in Florida. And I believe Florida got a great replacement because Hornqvist is a great face-off guy. He's a great centerman, and he can definitely replace Vincent Trocheck. The Panthers obviously got rid of Vincent Trocheck, traded him to Carolina earlier this year. As far as going the other way for Pittsburgh, I do agree with you. Mike Matheson is definitely not a top defenseman in the league. I do think he's a great third pairing defenseman. And as far as it goes, I do kind of get what Jim Rutherford was thinking for Pittsburgh. You have a guy like Mike Matheson. You can put in the third pairing. It adds to your defensive depth. You have a guy like Colton Sceviour who can still put up goals. He can still score goals, put up points, and you can stick him on like the third or fourth line there in Pittsburgh. So I think for Jim Rutherford and the Penguins, it was more of like a depth trade, just furthering their depth because you and me both know, Martin, that Pittsburgh not making it out of the NHL play-in series was a disappointment for sure for that organization. Heather said, did Florida make a mistake they got for the coach ex-agent? Not quite sure what you mean there. Maybe Bill Zito, the general manager.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Bill Zito, he was Columbus. He was an ex-agent for Columbus. He's now the general manager of the Florida Panthers. And what's interestingly enough about this trade is Originally, the trade was actually just going to be Hornquist for Matheson. It was going to be a 1-for-1 deal. Bill Zito actually declined the trade because he was the assistant general manager in Columbus, and he was around when Columbus got stuck with that brutal Nathan Horton contract, and then Nathan Horton got injured, didn't play another game of the NHL, and they got stuck with him on long-term injured reserve and still paid out his contract. And Bill Zito did not want that same thing to happen in Florida, so he was very, very cautious about this trade, and he wanted to, get the right bang for his buck with this trade. And I think him sweetening the pot with Sevier is something that he wanted to do. And I think Bill Zito is going to be a great general manager. It's definitely going to be, I think, learning from Jarmo Kekalainen there in Columbus, I think was a great opportunity for him, and he's going to be definitely a good general manager. And I mean, to see how this trade plays out, as of right now, Martin, who do you think won this trade?
To me, I think Florida won it definitely because they need a guy that can go in the top six, second, that could be the second line center, third line center, maybe even first line center, but most likely second or third line center. They got a proven winner, a guy that is a veteran and leader. And for Pittsburgh, all they really got was a bottom six defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting for sure. For me, I'm not going to really make a decision until I see how the teams play next year. If Hornquist has an unreal year in Florida and Matheson and Sevier, don't do too much, then yeah, I'd say Florida. But it all depends on. For me, I'd have to actually see the teams in action and see them on their new teams before I make a decision on this one. As of right now, I think it's fairly even, but again, we'd have to see. Does each team improve? Or like Florida definitely improves. Do you think Pittsburgh gets stronger with the addition of Matheson and Sevier, or do you think they kind of decline?
Yeah, I think they can get stronger, but they're going to be stronger. But now they're going to get rid of an defenseman. And if I was Pittsburgh, I want to get rid of Jack Johnson. But the problem is, who wants to take Jack Johnson's contract? I don't think anybody wants to take that contract right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to be tough and interesting to see kind of what the general manager of the Penguins does there in the offseason. We're going to move on now to the breaking news out of Winnipeg. This news broke actually about 45 minutes before we came on air here. Winnipeg Jets announced tonight that they are quote unquote serious about trade offers for Patrik Laine. That's right, their second overall pick in 2015, second to Austin Matthews. Now they are entertaining all trade offers for Patrik Laine. What are your thoughts on this, Martin? This could be huge news if Patrik Laine ends up getting traded.
Yeah, we already like last offseason before he signed that contract with Winnipeg, we seen that he was up trade offers, but now they're on again. I'm not sure what to feel right now because on one side I see Winnipeg because I see Winnipeg trying to get value, the best value for Patrik Laine because he might not want to stay there because is this contract not long term right now?
Yeah, he's currently signed to a 2-year, $13 million contract. He just completed the first year. He's going into his last year this next season, but his cap hit is $6.5 million a year.
But yeah,
and that expires after next season.
Yeah, I get why they want to trade him because you got a superstar who had an expiring contract, who you tried to get a long-term deal with, but you just could not get done with him. So sure, trade him up, trade him for somebody. But I see Winnipeg getting a big hole for a good-sized hole for Laine, maybe a couple good prospects, some draft picks.
Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking because you look at Patrik Laine. First off, I understand the situation there, but another part of me is thinking, why the hell would you want to trade Laine? As far as a team that, like the Winnipeg Jets, you have guys like Mark Scheifele, Nick Ehlers, stuff like that. A guy like Patrik Laine who has an absolute rocket of a shot. He can play on the power play. He's a proven goal scorer. He's done it before. in my mind, you get rid of Laine, you would if you don't get a great big haul back for Laine, you've lost this trade huge because Laine is an impact player. They didn't take him second overall for nothing, and any team that wants to take on, his contract's not bad, 6.5 million, but that contract is expiring after this next season. And if they were to trade him and Laine has an unreal year, he's going to demand at least 8 million when his contract expires. And depending on whatever team takes on that contract, they could be in trouble unless they get. Another thing that I could see is maybe a team picking up Laine for the last year of his contract as kind of like a rental, and then Laine tests free agency again next season. But like that being said, if you're Winnipeg and you're trading Patrik Laine, you're going to want to get at least a top defenseman, at least a top forward, and a draft pick. For sure. Definitely. Like a top defenseman, one that can play in the top pairing, and then like a top one, a first or second line player, and then like a high prospect. That's what I would say I would trade for Patrik Laine.
Yeah, they had a good haul right there for Winnipeg. I mean, they could use that haul right there. And for a team, for someone that can actually get him, I wouldn't want him as a rental, but that's what scares me because what scares me is you don't know if he's gonna resign this year. And you don't know if he's gonna resign, or you don't know how much money he'll want. That's something that you gotta take under consideration because Laine is an unbelievable player. And it's gonna be tough to see how much he wants, or how good he's gonna be. So it's gonna be tough to see which team will take the risk and bring in an absolute superstar on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens there with Laine, and we will keep you updated. Heather says, I heard that Vancouver and Boston might be in talks with Krug, maybe going to the Canucks. I still think he should go to a team like Edmonton. I am with you on that, Heather. If Krug came to Edmonton, I would be one happy guy. And I'm actually, normally I host this show with Tim, who's a Bruins fan. Martin is also a Bruins fan. And Martin, honestly, man, if you guys gave us Krug, I would not be upset with that at all.
Yeah,
do you see Winnipeg going to be in the playoffs next season? We'll get into that right after Martin's comments here.
Yeah, because Krug is a tough situation because like Boston, they're known to not pay their players because how you got someone like a Dougie Hamilton who they didn't want to pay, so they got rid of him.
Tyler Seguin, they didn't want to pay.
Yeah, that and they got tired of his antics, so they got rid of him as well. Mm-hmm. So Boston is a team that has not been known to pay players big time money, and Torey Krug is quite honestly one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and he needs to get that top money. And with him going to Edmonton, I think he'll get the chance to go for a Stanley Cup and get the money that he wants. But I think I think Torey Krug, the best fit for him, it might be the Detroit Red Wings because he's from Detroit, and Detroit is one of the few teams that can offer him a long-term big money deal.
Not only that, but Detroit has like cap space coming out of their ass right now. And I mean, you have a guy like Steve Yzerman, but at the same time, it's like, does Torey Krug want to go to a team like Detroit? Because Detroit has nothing. Steve Yzerman is not doing anything right now, and this team is going to continue to be a bottom feeder in the league unless Steve Yzerman. I mean, mind you, he did build the team that Tampa Bay has right now, but I mean, I think Torey Krug going to Detroit would be a huge acquisition for them. As personally, for me, as far as Torey Krug going to Edmonton, I don't personally see it happen. I would love for it to happen, but we don't have cap space for one thing. And in order for that to make it work, because Krug already came out and said he's not taking a small deal anymore. He's done that his whole career. He's in it for the money now, which, I mean, Krug's going to probably demand at least a $9 million a year contract. There is no way the Oilers can afford that right now. Unless they're going to have to give Boston back like maybe a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and a Darnell Nurse in order to make that work. And if they do that, they lose that trade because Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, great centerman who can win faceoffs. Darnell Nurse is going to be he's one of the top defensemen on the Oilers, and definitely is one of the better defensemen in the league. So I think if you trade someone like Torrey Krug for Darnell Nurse and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Oilers lose that trade. Boston gets better. Done deal. So I mean, personally, I don't see it happening to Edmonton.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes because what team will really pay him top dollar? Because he wants a long-term deal with a lot of money. But if he wants to win right now, and the tough thing is Edmonton has no salary cap space right now. If Edmonton had cap space, I'd say he'd go to Edmonton right now because they got the team. They got a team that can win a cup right now, but they need a guy like Krug that can honestly improve that defense 100% because the Oilers defense, it needs an improvement right now.
And it is no secret that the Oilers need defensemen. Ken Holland came out and publicly said he is going to be putting defensemen first this offseason. Torrey Krug, I think, is going to be one of those guys that wants to go to a contending team. And quite honestly, you got McDavid and Draisaitl on the Oilers, two of the best players in the league right now. It's very intriguing time, and people want to go to Edmonton to play with these two. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. Martin, we got to move on here. Heather says, do you see Krejci going out of Boston because of money? Real quick, Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think with his cap hit, and pretty soon we're not going to be in. Our window is closing very soon. So if we don't win the cup this year, like next year, I can see him going because I don't see Boston paying Krejci his salary right now if they don't win a cup soon because they got Pastrnak, but a lot of the roster are old guys like Bergeron, Krejci, Marchand, Char, but it still got the young guys as well. But the core of Boston is mixed right now. But a lot of the players are going to be gone after this year, I feel.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you there, Martin. We're going to move on here because we've got 3 more topics here to cover in the next 10 minutes. So we're going to just whiz through these. Ottawa Senators will not renew veteran goalie Craig Anderson's contract. No surprise there. Craig Anderson turns 39 this year. So he's up there kind of with like the Henrik Lundqvist and the Mike Smiths in the old goalie department. They also part ways with veteran forward Mark Borowiecki. Anderson, obviously, the Sens aren't going to renew his contract. He's a free agent goalie this year. What do you think Craig Anderson does? Him being 39 years old, does he retire? Does he try to go to another team? What do you think happens to Craig Anderson? What do you think he should do?
Yeah, Craig Anderson, I think his best move is to retire because I don't think there's any team that would want him as a starter. If he would stay in the league, I'd go for him as a backup because he could be a good backup, but as a starter, I would not want him as my starter right now.
The only thing that I can think of, maybe because Craig Anderson has not won a cup, and I can see Craig Anderson kind of doing like what Mike Smith has done, and just maybe go to a cup contending team like an Islanders or a Tampa Bay, Colorado, something like that. I can see him going to Colorado because Colorado's got a contending team, and Colorado can just sign him to a 1-year deal. He can be, Anderson and Grubauer can be like a tandem there in Colorado. Colorado somehow has a crap load of cap space. I can definitely see Colorado offering Anderson, come play with us. We'll give you a 1-year, $2 million contract to come play with us, and you can play alongside Grubauer. I can definitely see that happening for sure. Because Anderson's going to want to play for a cup, right?
Yeah, of course he would, because he's like on that he is late 30s. So if I was him, if I'm not retiring, I'd go for a 1-2-year deal on a team that can win a cup right now.
Yeah, and and take a team-friendly contract. You know, like you're 39 years old. Obviously, you're way past your prime. If he still wants to go for a cup, take that 1 year deal for $1 million and go to a cup contending team and win the cup there.
Yeah, like Colorado, that'd be a good place for him.
Yeah, and I can definitely see Joe Sakic maybe trying to go after him there. Now, obviously, with Craig Anderson leaving, the Sens are going to be without a starting goalie. So, which goalies do you think Ottawa should try to go after to replace? Mind you, there are tons of free agent goalies out there. There's Braden Holtby. There's Matt Murray that's looking for a trade. Do you think Ottawa should go after one of those two?
Yeah, no, because Ottawa is nowhere near a playoff contender right now. And those two guys, if they get traded, they're more than. And if Holtby goes anywhere, it'll be a playoff contender. If Murray gets traded anywhere, it'll be to a playoff contender. So it's tough to see where Ottawa goes here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no offense on Holtby. I've heard trade talks about him. Yeah, Holtby. Heather, if you didn't catch it last show, Washington Capitals announced they will not be renewing Holtby's contract, and Holtby's going to test free agency. So it is very likely that Holtby will be. It won't be a trade. He'll just sign with another team because his contract expired. But it's very, very, very likely that you will see Holtby on another team this year, and we will get into that too. But yeah, I can see a team like Ottawa. You know, they're gonna want to, you know, obviously build this team. They're in the rebuild mode right now, but I think getting like a Holtby or a Murray there will definitely be a step in the right direction for Ottawa for sure. We're gonna move on to the next topic here. San Jose Sharks elected to stay with interim head coach Bob Boughner. They announced earlier this week that they have made him the permanent head coach instead of hiring highly coveted free agent coaches. There's two noticeable coaches that had an interview with the San Jose Sharks. They were Bruce Boudreau and Gerard Gallant. Obviously, the San Jose Sharks elected to stick with Bob Boughner. Is this the right move for the Sharks, and where do you see the Sharks going from here?
Yeah, I think it's the right move there because when you under the interim coach, despite the record, I think they played pretty well because they played pretty well under the what's his name again?
Bob Boughner. Bob Boughner.
Yeah, him. Yeah. Boughner. Yeah, I think getting him is a step in the right direction for San Jose because they're not a contending team right now. They could be a rebuilding stage for the next few years. So go Boughner.
Now, what do you think about 40-year-old Joey Thornton? Hasn't won a cup, made it very, very public that he was very disappointed with the Sharks for not dealing him at the trade deadline this year because he wants to win that cup before he retires. San Jose Sharks obviously entering rebuild mode. Do you think Joe Thornton goes somewhere? Does he stick with San Jose? Because I think between you and I, he's not going to win a cup before he retires if he stays in San Jose. So do you think Joe Thornton tries to, you know, test the waters there and sign somewhere else to a cup contending team, or what do you think happens to Joe Thornton?
So he's a free agent, right?
Yeah, the San Jose Sharks signed him to a 1-year deal. He's a free agent this year for sure.
Yeah, after the stuff that he said about the Sharks not trading him, I do not see him going anywhere near San Jose this year. I see him taking a 1-year deal with maybe someone like a Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche,
Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah. Dallas Stars maybe.
Yeah, cup contending team.
Yeah, like maybe in Edmonton, like take one of those guys, and he'll go there and be on a contending team because Joe Thornton deserves a cup before he retires. Because if he doesn't win a cup, it'll be sad because to me he's one guy that deserves a cup right now.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I couldn't agree more. So it's definitely going to be interesting there. We've got tons of potential news coming up here in future Inside the Ice episodes, so make sure you stay tuned. We got about 5 minutes left in the show. Real quick before we take off and give way to the basketball show, you see right there on the headline, no more hockey until January, ? Now, before the NHL awards were given out, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman made a public speech just kind of about how the season went, how they like the bubble format, and what next season is going to look like. Now, Commissioner Bettman said next season does not have a definitive start date as of yet. Originally, it was supposed to begin on December 1st, but Bettman said there is quote-unquote no way that happens. NHL still needs to explore multiple options, and it is more likely that the season starts later in December around Christmas or in early January. Obviously, it's going to be pushed back while the NHL explores multiple options. Bettman said they still plan on playing out a full 82-game season this coming year. They'll most likely begin with no fans and slowly transition into some fans in the arenas by season's end. Seattle's expansion draft will not be delayed, and they will begin in the 2021-22 season. Now, my question for you, Martin, before we take off here for the night, should NHL stick with the bubble format, or should they take a page out of the baseball's book and travel to opposing arenas with no fans?
I want to say a bubble, but the problem with that, I can't see the NHL having a bubble for a full 82-game season. Sure, yeah. It's a nice idea because nobody will get COVID. Like, let's face it, COVID. But the problem with that is players will be away from their families, and that is what I think the players are most worried about because players.
Well, you've already had guys on the Dallas Stars come out and say, it's very, very long and starting to get boring in the bubble. They miss their families. They want to go home. And quite honestly, I think the players won't vote in favor of a bubble. I think the way I look at it is if you kind of do what the Major League Baseball League is doing and travel to opposing arenas with no fans. If you travel, so let's say, Boston goes to Philadelphia for a game, right? They go to Philadelphia. In my opinion, if you travel to Philadelphia, you go from your hotel to the arena, back to the hotel. Don't do anything else while you're on a road trip. I think, in all honesty, as long as there's no fans in the arena, I believe you're fine.
Yeah, I believe that it's going to be fine because that plan right there will work. But the problem is, can you even trust players to not go out and to not go out? That's going to be a problem to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting for sure. There's one more question here that we have, which obviously will be answered in the very near future. Do you see any trades going for the Calgary Flames? They were good. Potentially. I don't really like talking about the Calgary Flames though, because they're like my nemesis as an Oilers fan. But real quick before we go, it's going to be interesting here because Gary Bettman said they want to have an 82-game season. Personally, I don't see how they can have an 82-game season starting in January, and because Gary Bettman said they want the 21-22 season to start in October, so I don't see how you are going to have an 82-game season starting end of December, beginning of January, and still be able to have full 82-game season and playoffs, and still be able to start in October for the next season. So keep it locked, guys, right here to GCSN. We'll keep you in the loop for everything that comes out and obviously update you on what's kind of going on in National Hockey League. Thank you very much, Martin, for filling in for Tim. And we are going to be right back, guys. We'll see you on Inside the Ice here next Thursday. Now give it up for Elizabeth and a special guest filling in for Hunter as he is also out under the weather. Stick around right away because we'll have Behind the Basket coming up in a few minutes' time. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Hey, guys.